That's waiting in the room for me, brother. This is I'm actually live streaming from the same spot I was yesterday. So I dropped to. So Flea, can you answer me? Am I pixelated because I dropped to 4G to see if would have a better, more stable connection because I think I dropped connection at 5G, um, which is funny because that right there is the telecommunication tower that I was talking to you about there, Flea. And so I should have a better reception, you would think, but it might not be one of the towers I use. So I'm not taking that out. So tell me if I'm pixelated because this is a new, like I'm experimenting with to see if the 4G is any better. Um, Come on. Oops. All right. Like I said, I'm only rocking one phone on this. I'm broadcasting from the same spot. I'll keep this short today. Looks good. All right. Thank you, CS. Good to see you here, my brother. Um, so CS, you remember how I was having that discussion with you that nothing, no beach is actually, but nothing really, it's like you can't own the beach. But if you own every access to the beach, then by default, you basically own the beach. I think that's kind of what Club Med does up north. I got on the satellite view, and there is such a long stretch, and everything says Club Med on it, like Club Med hiking trails, Club, all this, right? And I look at it, and the only access points into it is basically owned by Club Med. You have to get basically into the Club Med on the north side through the gates, or on the southern side has some type of, I don't know, like I look like a high end residential, but there are like no access roads that actually go back to there. You'd have to go in through the very north and just walk along the coast to get to the south, and that's a fair chunk of beach down there. So I think I ran into that in Quantum too. When I got to one of the beaches, it was completely blocked off by, well, one is construction site, so I can't technically say what it's going to be in the future because it hasn't been built yet. But it's that beach is basically blocked off too by the resort. Um, your definition of beach and mine is I know Club Med. No, I'm talking about the beach. I figured you could own back away from the beach. I don't know how our name of the how our definition of the beach is much different. The beach itself, the sandy part, but it needs to be defined probably about how far back. And I think you mentioned something about between low tide and high tide. That's considered the beach itself. So I don't like that. I guess that would be considered actually the shoreline. So how much of that is actually usually, like I think in Hawaii, there's a stipulation of I'm trying like okay, like in the United States, the same way as like with the railroad tracks, that nothing can be owned 50 feet on either side of the railroad track is actually I think owned by the railroad, but that's not. I've seen fence lines run a lot closer than 50 feet, to the railroad tracks. So I'm trying to think in Hawaii they had the same definition of how much is actually supposed to be considered free, because the same thing in Hawaii, the beaches themselves are. Uh, I used to pretend to walk. I pretend to walk through the scary, then walk to the sand, and they'd ask, "Am and ask them, "Am I trespassing?" He. So I guess it's all right. Um, yeah, you can probably. I mean, I'm positive that I could walk in and just probably walk right by the gates. And just walk in because I've done that before. The only access to some of the beaches in some of the resort towns were to walk through the resort. So I just walked through the resort. If it's big enough, they're not even going to know if you're staying there. But this was just something I was trying to figure out. So Yeah. So anyway, actually, where I'm planning on camping is north of. Once you get past Club Med area, that opens up more into, what'd you say, a primitive type. I think there's a glamping area up there, but I don't do glamping. Glamping just means they want to charge you a lot for the camping, and it doesn't necessarily mean they actually deserve that title of glamping. Glamping's supposed to mean full electricity, TV, everything like that. Just like you're supposed to be have all the luxuries of a home in a camping environment. But all the essentials of staying in a 4 or 5 star hotel. You know what I'm saying? Um, so so I think a lot of people are just putting glamping because they're trying to get the higher dollar for a campground. But um, so I'm just gonna keep this kind of short. I stayed here one more night. I'm really glad I did because I got to meet the locals that way. When I showed up, I'll throw up the video as soon as I get off this. Just put on a quick thumbnail that I made, and I didn't even really title it. Now the title will only make sense to local Malaysians because I just used the name of the place, which is in Malaysian. Um, uh, so, but it was just kind of lazy yesterday when it came to actually trying to figure out. Um, I mean, basically, I gotten into the routine of just putting my description of what I did that day into ChatGPT and let ChatGPT figure out a title for it. And it usually figures out good titles, and then maybe a markup idea, and then I take that over to someone like Gemini. Nano Bananas is very good, and it's free. It did actually tell me one time that I need to slow down on because with Nano Bananas, you can start with a thumbnail idea and then keep tweaking it. And I think it even though it's a free, yeah, I think it tries to stop people from overusing it because otherwise it would just, yeah, it would overwork the servers. But Nano Bananas is also, Doug played around with it the other day. It seems to be like the best program for actually artistically. It knocks the other ones out of the water, I think. Um, but it also understands when you try and start tweaking something. Like you give a picture of yourself and you say, hey, make that person on the bike look like this person. And it does a good job. And my biggest struggles with AI is when it's talking, it can spell words perfectly well. But when it writes down like titles and stuff, like in letterings on a thumbnail, it misspells them all the time. So I don't know why that is, but it's just common amongst all platforms. But yeah, these are all just fun things I had to learn. I mean, technically, I don't have to learn. I could put these videos out in just raw footage, and I don't think anybody would mind. And actually, I'd probably get a fan base of people that just prefer raw footage. There's nothing wrong with raw footage. A, a aesthetic. It's a nice, it has a beauty to itself. I've seen some videos that just, no transitions between things. It looks awesome. Anyway, guys, yeah, this is my spot. But I'm going to head up north next. Like I said, I slept in here, and that's the tower. I should have a lot better signal than I do, but I don't think I'm using that tower. I don't think, but yeah, this is how I'm having my coffee this morning. I'm just eating it. I actually started eating these. These are not bad, but the creamer that they put in them, if you chew on this, it turns to like almost like gum. Like you're eating like a coffee taffy in your mouth. And I don't know why the creamer has that. I'm gonna have to look into what exactly is everything they put in the creamers. But yeah, so if you ever pop one of these open, the 3-in-1 coffee mix, it'll turn into gum in your mouth. Yeah, but the so CS says he prefers the raw footage. Yeah, but then you have to consider like what is raw footage is like no title, so that'd be like no transitions. One, no music. That's a given, right? Um, but then that's also no titles, right? So I'm not talking about title for your video. Still put the title for your video, but like no intro title, like where you're at. As you're going through a park, that's you're not listing the park name. You know what I'm saying? So even when you say raw footage, you have to decide, well, how raw? You know, how far do I want to go? Do I want to just not list any of the places that I go to? And and I have a habit of wanting to list the spots in lettering because it's just a habit I gotten into. I like to drop a pin where I'm filming and then look for that name and throw it in so people know where I'm going. They can kind of follow along. That way, if you're keeping up with me and I'm keeping up like as close to real time that I'm, um, it's then so if I post yesterday's video, right, that you can see where I'm at, look it up in Google Maps and know pretty well right where I'm at. So that's why I like, and you can see the route I'm taking too. So if you don't use like Strava or something, like I don't use Strava, let's say that day, like the app crashes or something, then you can just get on and write down each spot that I actually show on my video because I list them. You know what I'm saying? So um, right now I'm still looking for a balance between uh, what which is what is too much and what is too little. Music actually is a time consuming aspect. The letters are time consuming, but I don't want to sacrifice that. I don't, but I don't know. Um, okay, so try and keep the so audio and video is good, but it pixelated as soon as I moved the camera. Thank you, Lee. That's the information I'm actually looking for. Um, that's because the even the 4G right now I like out of I think out of the 4 bars. Okay, so my phone shows 4 bars. Only 3 bars are present on 4G, and I did a speed test, and it was oh hell, what was the speed test at? The speed test was very low. I mean, um, like 12 or something megabits per second or something. So, uh, but I googled it, and it says as long as you have between 5 and 10, you should have a okay, megabits per second. Then you should have a steady stream, and I just decided not to do 5 because of the two disconnects. The two disconnects yesterday. So yeah, my main concern is not getting disconnected because I can even if this is slightly pixelated, I could just end the live stream quickly, and I probably am going to. Oh, and there was a Planet Doug, most likely not here. Is because I just read his update. And he's back on the road, guys. He got his passport. Jump over and read his update over on Planet Doug. And he's going to start before he starts his bicycle ride. He's going on a road trip. Started it. I think he's going out towards a national park right now. But he hasn't confirmed which exact location. Okay, so 3 megabits. Yeah, 1080. That's what I actually. So yes, 1080 stream needs about 3 megabit bandwidth. Yeah, I mean that's what it's claiming, but it doesn't say if even if it streams in 1080, it could still be pixelated, right? So yeah, so I'm more concerned about the connection, and I'm gonna try and start. So I turned on. So Doug's out on the road. He got his passport back with extra pages. So now it actually has 33. Read his update. he's going to have some good Malaysian videos coming out. So all my Malaysian audience here, most of them are from Planet Doug anyway. So I'm not telling you anything you didn't. But if you don't, hop over his station or his channel, check him out. He has two channels. He has Planet Doug and Planet Doug behind the scenes. So, and make sure you look at both of those because sometimes he splits up his videos depending on what he's talking about. See, I like listening to his technical problems, you know, and I like to listen to his passport problems, and because these are all unique for the traveler hobo, and he is basically a Canadian hobo. The only difference is Canadian hobos usually dress nicer and smell better than American hobos. And they won't admit that they're hobos. But no, but he he I like watching that. I'm not because I'm not like watching it because I like watching him struggle, but it's because the relatability to that. And these problems, I hate these problems. I have such a bad attitude when it comes to these problems. It gives me lots of stress and anxiety. Uh, but hang on. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I was just reading CS's comment right there. Um, so I like watching Planet Doug's going through these problems because of one, I know I'm going to have those problems too, or I might currently be going through it, or if so, when I think a problem might be uniquely to me and hear how he actually handles the same thing, I'm like, good. I'm not. At least I'm not alone in this boat with all these things going wrong. You know, that these things do happen to other people besides me, and so I prefer those. But some of those videos, since they're not uh, travel and place related, they're more technical or whatever, usually ends up on his behind the scenes, Planet Doug behind the scenes channel. Yeah, yeah. Um, Planet Doug does actually put in a lot of details. I don't, you know, even in his posts. And you know, I really like though. I know that he took one day and broke it down into a lot of different sections. I really like that. So one, because it felt like I could, you know, it's like anytime I got a break, there was another Planet Doug video, I could just kind of decompress and watch, right? But they were broken down into like half an hour segments and stuff. Even though because he was able to break it down topic by topic and stuff like this, and I thought that was pretty awesome. Although I mean a lot of them coming out, and I don't know if that was harder on him or easier on him. I'm sorry for moving the camera. If that requires more editing or less, I think it would require more editing because now you have to do a title and a thumbnail for each video, which is time consuming in itself, you know. These last few videos, I mean, completely run out of ideas. Even AI doesn't have any ideas anymore. It keeps spitting out the same garbage for me. And ChatGPT has a memory. It remembers the stuff that you tell it, and it remembers what it's already told you, right? More or less. Um, but it comes up the same thing. You know, it's just like hammock camping, free camping, you know, stuff like this. And it's like, yeah, no, it's like there's only so many videos that you can put down free camp or, you know, from hostel to hammock hill, you know, it's like all this stuff. It's like, so on the thumbnails, I've been going kind of like, I just been kind of like whatever's quickest, you know. Like this last thumbnail, I think you'll see it. It was supposed to be a thumbnail for something else that I just didn't use, and I was like, I'll just use this one. I'll throw a picture of me in it, and I'll put Baluk, you know, Balak as the place I'm in. So let's see what I got. Yeah, no. Doug, that's why I kind of like. So yeah, Doug in my mind is an accomplished professional writer. So it is a nature to his to it's second nature to him to piece in a good story. Yeah, he definitely does. Descriptive story too, and he's the type that would have ended up with a good Discovery Channel. You know what I'm saying? Like Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs. They got a similar look. But no, what I'm saying is he's got that presentation. Like Mike Rowe is very, that voice and stuff like that, and good presentation on the videos and stuff. And so, yeah, Planet Duck always kind of remind me of a person that would have probably ended up with a good Discovery Channel. I used to love watching the Discovery Travel, all the Discovery, and I ended up mostly on the survival ones, obviously, because that was my niche at the time. And I think I watched them all, except for Naked and Afraid. Honestly, I never could get into Naked and Afraid. Um, One, because it was just really shallow with the skill sets and stuff like this, and two, but they are all like basically all the survivals. They just ham it up mostly on all of them. They have a whole crew of people eating pizza. So basically, you're supposed to be surviving, but the fact is that the camera crew and all the people that work for you have like a table of food right next to you. You know what I'm saying? So you're never really in a danger. You never, there's warm spots to go and stuff. Anyway, I was told this by, these people that were on them fully admit it. They are real survivalists. It's just when it's on TV, it's situations that and it is. I don't think any of us were kind of fooled by, oh yeah, this could really happen. The chances of, I mean, your biggest concerns are like hyperthermia and stuff like this, not having water. But fact is you can go a long time. I mean, you can go a few days without water. But if you're in the desert, nah, not a few days, not a few days at all. But anyway, I don't know why I start rambling about that. I can sign up for another account for. I forgot what the conversation was. Flea, what do you mean that you can sign up for another account using another email address? I don't remember what we were talking about here. Yeah, drop what you mean by that in the comments, because I'm struggling to realize what you're talking about. Okay, guys. So plan is today I'll pack up here. I'm gonna throw the video up as soon as I get off. It shows me actually showing this place a little more. It's actually a very nice spot. I just didn't walk that far back. There's actually 2 soccer fields there, and everybody showed up in the evening right around like 6 o'clock or so. Around 6 o'clock with their kids and stuff, and everybody started playing soccer and stuff. So this spot actually gets pretty active. I didn't notice it because I came in the evening when everybody was leaving, and no one shows up in the morning. So if you were to camp here, which they don't mind you camping here, then nothing actually really even sets up. So the restaurant here, I got some really good food. They gave me this for free. That was normally just noodles, like a fish soup, and some vegetables and stuff. But that was only 6 ringgit. You're talking about like $1.50. So I ate there. I was like, oh, I don't have to go anywhere, right? Because you got the best view in the world, and you'll see that on the video. And 6 ringgit is just ridiculous. You look at like cooking the meal and the vegetables and everything like this, and you're like, how can you sell something for $1.50? That's the equivalent of $1.50. It's like, I mean, even if you cook this in batch, it's just ridiculous that with all the time and effort and all this stuff that's put into it, that you're only getting. I mean, vegetables are ridiculously cheap here, you know. So that's why I took advantage of when I went to the store. I kind of got more than I should have because I ended up only having like one more night at the hostel, and I had all these vegetables, and that's why I cooked up that big stir fry. And that stir fry turned out good. Um, but yeah, you look at it, and it's kind of because it doesn't fully compute to me because you can't really even get a candy bar, like a little Snickers bar in the United States for $1.50. $2, yeah. $3, yeah. You know, a candy bar runs like $2, $3 almost in the United States. I guess some spots you could just buy them for $1.50, but you can't get a meal. You know, that's a full meal. So I ended up having two of those because they were really good. And I just ran down to the corner store and picked up. Well, actually, I ran down to the 99 Speedway because these are like like 2 ringgit less in there, and the water is less than a ringgit. Where normally, if you go to the gas station, it's 3 ringgit. So um, that's the price difference between 99 Speed Mart and the rest of them. So um, that's what you know. It's like in the United States, something we all did because you have to budget. You have to budget food. So if you pay for rent, you have to budget food because you can't just buy food because you can't afford food. So you have to budget how much food you can actually take and what you need to pay your bills and stuff. And so some of the things that you do to ease that pressure on how much you can afford for food is always hit the 99-cent store first. You know, and buy as many things that you can get at the 99-cent level, right? Because when you go to the regular store, which is usually Walmart, because Walmart has the better prices on everything, yeah, for like food and everything's kind of in one location. Um, then you can start buying your items. But even at Walmart, you know, it stinks. You go in, you spend $20, which is the equivalent of 40 ringgits in the United States, right? You get 4 items. You know, and on the average, it's like $5 an item. You know, and that's the reason I decide never to go back if I don't have to. Until I have to work. If I have to work, then I just go back, live in a tent again, work, and then pay for my tickets, get out, and just try and, you know, because 3 years living, you know, and working in a tent was enough for me to stay out of the United States for a very long time. And if I'm just very careful and I stay about below the amount that I make each month, then I never have to go back. But even if I didn't have that small little income that comes in, because that small income there is a decent income everywhere else. So, yeah, and it's nice to actually be able to eat in a restaurant. You know, uh, you know, I mean, it's nice to be able to buy food off someone and actually be able to afford to eat. You know, I mean, it's funny because you know, living in a tent, that was a financial decision because if I lived in a tent, I wouldn't have to worry about how much I actually spent on food. But if I plus I was traveling, right? But if I live in a house, that's why so many people just were like, you know what? Why am I working my ass off just so I can struggle to make bills, you know? And even at the end of the month, I still end up owing more money than I actually made. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and so why am I doing this to myself if I can just quit and there's enough benefit programs and stuff like that, welfare programs in the United States, that you can live at the same poverty level. If you want to live in poverty and you're already in poverty, but you're working, why are you working, you know? So I think a lot of people realize that during the COVID is like, I'm not going to go back. They're like, listen, you know, if I'm homeless, I can go out and I can start working on trying to get some type of rental assistance, and basically where they pay your rent for you. Now, full coverage, like where they pay 100%, is a lot harder to get into. They usually want you to have a job and paying some of it, but if you're a full-time homeless person, then they'll try and get you in. They just don't want you on the streets anymore. But yeah, and I can't blame these people, especially the new kid, like the new generation, because that old lie that you got to go to college to get a good job is still there. But then when you get out, you realize, no, even at college, with a college degree doesn't mean anything. Actually, they're looking for people with skill sets more than they are for college degrees, because the ones that are looking for college degrees is less than 1% of the work world. Is what and you got too many people going for that less than 1%, of that job. And so it's like, yeah, so it's like, you know, so I can't blame them for just saying, no, I'd just rather just get food stamps and rental assistance and stuff like this. No, that's why I got a job, though, because no one wanted to go back to work, after COVID. And anyway, yeah, so Chat GPT account. Yeah, so Flea, yeah, I got you what you mean for sign up another address for the Chat GPT. I was thinking about doing that because I got, but the thing is you don't need to do that now that Nano Bananas or Fire 2.0 or something, which is just Gemini. They added the option of being able to draw, and that thing is just knockout better than Chat GPT on speed, and on the quality of the video, how well it does. I'll post over in Telegram, a video that I was watching on a creator that actually was testing it out and stuff like this, and you can just see how much better it performs. And then you can also just run over to vidIQ. Gives you quite a bit of um, quite a good amount of thumbnails per day, as long as you're not super abusive with it. And vidIQ has a good drawing program. And the other one I'd say would be Canvas. Canva actually has a good AI drawing program, and it has all the tools there. So like it has where after you're done, you can just swap in pictures of yourself with the background missing and all that stuff. You still need to go over to remove background. But the thing is after it removes the background, your picture quality is less. So that's why you see some of my pictures are a little on the blurry side. But yeah, so I got to unblur a bunch of my pictures. Anyway, so yeah, I just didn't get to do the double account because it seems like, especially with ChatGPT, I thought was on a daily limit, right? But now it's like, no, it's a monthly limit. I said, you told me it was a daily limit, and it's like, well, no, I didn't. And I was like, yeah, you did, but yeah. And the thing is I know a lot of people are going to kill me for this. I like Google. I'm a fan of Google just because uh, because basically all their programs and apps and stuff are good quality without intrusive ads. I think they're more concerned about selling your data than they are actually putting ads on their apps, and that's the bad part. But that's the same with Tesla vehicles. Was just that was just data mining. Um, so so I'm a kind of a fan with because Google is not so obvious about how they make their money. So it seems like all their apps have always been like more or less just free. Where you don't have to pay for it. The only exception to that is was a Google Drive. Is very annoying. That was one of the most annoying apps. And voice to text is uh, yeah, voice to text, like when you're searching and stuff, is borderline retarded. It really is. It was really good a few years ago, right? And Google will not admit to this and fire whoever the CEO is of that was in charge of doing their voice to text, like when it comes to searching and stuff like that, because it was good at one time. Even with an accent and all this stuff, it understood you, right? But now it it, it just doesn't understand anything. You know, even with the voice training and all this stuff, and you allow it. But the thing is it's like it just doesn't understand you, and then it buffers and buffers and buffers and tries to figure out what you're talking about, even though it might have gotten it right the first time. You're like, yeah, that was the letter I was saying, and then it's like it retracts it and starts thinking and thinking and thinking, and then throws out a word that doesn't make sense at all. And it's funny because when you do voice to text, when you're like, let's say, writing out something, right? And it misspells it, and then the spell checker has to say, hey, you got this word wrong. I'm like, you're the one that actually wrote it. And, you know, it's like, I know it's two different programs, but it's funny because one's misspelling words, and you know, it's like, it's because the words that, yeah, it's funny because if you misspell a word, then Google will remember that word that you misspelled, and it'll put it up as a, did you mean this word? You know, and you're like, no, because that one's misspelled, you know? Why didn't you catch me the first time? So yeah, no, I one of my biggest issues with Google is that stupid voice to text. You know, is like someone needs to get in and just knock them out of the water, because it makes no sense that just a year or two ago, 2 years ago, 3 years. Let's see, how long has it been? I think the issue is actually more like 3 years ago. About 3 years ago, it was rock solid. You know, it could understand everything, and it didn't buffer and everything. Now it's just completely terrible. Someone said it was because there's too many people that are misusing words. You know, and the data set that it collects and stuff is just a bunch of like badly pronounced words and stuff. So I'm like, I don't know what the problem is, but yeah, I don't understand how Google has dropped the ball in that one, and they just won't admit to it. They're like, if you Google, why is Google voice to text so bad? Why is it like they're 80% wrong half the time? They're like, no, it's not. It's not 80% wrong. It's only like 3%. I'm like, no, it's like 80%. Trust me, I use it. And so it's hard to find out where they actually went so wrong. But that's one of those programs where they need to just delete it and start all over again, fire whoever they had in charge of it, or as a side company come out and put out a better version, you know. And anyway, that's my ramble. That's my bitch. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and end this. We're at 37. Um, and yeah, and I look forward to doing the AI stuff, Flea. Actually, so right now mine is thumbnails and stuff like this, and but the thing is because of the thumbnails and looking for an easier way of doing thumbnails, this is getting me involved in AI. So I appreciate these learning processes. Like right now, guys, I'm going through the legal aspects of copyright music and trying to learn about that. I put in an appeal and I won that appeal. No spoiler, that's on my video that I'll upload next. But I went ahead and took the chance and decided to put in a few appeals at once. But with my logic, and this is just my logic, is if they reject two of them at once and both of them come back with a strike, because they're automatic strikes. They're not like the company gets to decide if you get a strike or not. No, it's just like if I already went through disputing it, and then dispute was shot down and said, no, we're holding to the copyright claim. Your second chance is the appeal. And the first one, they went ahead and accepted it. So I get the monetization back, and they have to pay me back any type of money that they actually made off it in that time. So it'd be better to go ahead and dispute them early, because not that my videos are ever going to make more than about $10 in a year or something, but yeah, so I put in more than one dispute. There's some legitimate ones too that I'm actually having YouTube erase one of the songs because it's such a small section. I actually walk out of the bathroom and there's music playing, right, on a speaker. And it's just a small section that YouTube has a tool that will just take out the music but leave in all the other, and it's pretty good. So, but I still have to go through about 20 more of those. So anyway, I think I'm completely done with Thailand and Malaysia's. All the videos are monetized on those. It's just I gotta go through the other ones. All right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and call it quits. It's 40 minutes deep now, and I'll be hitting the road. This is great weather, by the way. See how beautiful it is out here. I know, pixelization. There's the sun. So, and I'll put up the video immediately when I get off. This place right here, if you're in this location, come in the evening around 6 o'clock. They have great food, and it's just such an awesome environment. And if you're a camper, they're more than happy to have you guys camp here. Um, the guy that's in charge of like security here, like he makes sure there's no bad people. He's super nice and stuff, and he's like, yeah, no, fire is good, camping is great, camp anywhere, and this continues up north. So this is like a little peninsula that goes up north. So if you don't want to be as close as I am, you can go up a little farther, find a spot to camp and stuff like that. He might drop by and say hello. The people at the restaurant are super cool. And you have everything from young kids playing soccer to teenagers playing soccer, and then just everybody else is sitting around chatting and eating from, at the restaurant and stuff. Bathrooms are open, so yeah, definitely a recommendation. This spot is, I recommend it, It could use a little bit of a volunteer work. So if you want to bring out your black bags and help out, they probably appreciate it. But that's just how it is. But other than that, it's a beautiful spot, and I really appreciated how kind they were, and how cool they were to me, and that made it staying another night worth it. Okay, so I'm going about 7 kilometers up north after I pack up here. All right, guys, thanks for joining me today, and yeah. I make sure I don't meet anybody. Yeah, I hope the next spot has a better cell signal too. But at least I didn't drop out today. All right. Peace out, y'all. And see you tomorrow, I think.